and welcome to the Moonshine Jesus Show. Thank you for joining us today. Today, as you, if you're watching this rather than listening to it, you'll see on our graphics that we'll be talking about Alien Earth. It's the prequel to the Alien movie series, the television series prequel. There has been a prequel movie, and it should be fun. There's 2 episodes out, and we got a lot to talk about. I'm, of course, when I say we, talking about me and my good friend Caleb. How are you, Caleb?
I'm doing great today, Mark. How about yourself?
Fantastic. Looking forward to this. I wasn't sure what to think when we knew that it was coming out, and hadn't heard a lot about it, but it'll be fun to talk about it. Before we go too much further, though, we do want to make sure you know we will spoil parts of this show. So if you are wanting to be spoiler free, pause it, catch a couple of episodes, come back and catch up with us. We also want to let you know we're brought to you by the Center for Progressive Christianity. You can go to progressivechristianity.org to learn more about them. Fantastic place for all your progressive Christian needs. And also, we're sponsored by the Progressive Christian Alliance, which is a diverse, inclusive community reclaiming faith through justice and compassion and radical welcome. Imagine that. And finally, also, we're brought to you by the Christian Left, where following Jesus means standing up for the poor, the oppressed, and the truth, no matter how unpopular it gets. So, Caleb, we always do this with a couple of nice beverages. This is a new enough show. I doubt that you're going to have exactly like a drink that's keyed in just for the show, but I am curious to know what you decided to go with.
Well, I decided to focus on the theme of death that is inherent in every Alien franchise movie or TV show. And so I got out my skull cup that I like to drink out of, and I've got some blood here. It's actually cranberry juice, grenadine, vodka, and raspberry juice, and some Prosecco as well. So a little bit of blood in the skull to celebrate the violence in Alien. How about you? What are you drinking?
Well, I decided to create a drink. There were 2 different times. There were probably more than it, but there are 2 specific ones that I remember cringing the tiniest bit as the alien drool came out of its mouth and fell on people. And it was kind of clear. It was a little brown. So I am doing a drink that I'm calling the Xenodrool, as in xenomorph, the Xenodrool. And it is actually pretty simple. What I did, I put bourbon in it, put a little Grand Marnier, and then I floated a little bit of banana liqueur on top of it. And I'm calling it Xenodrool.
Oh, I love that.
We're going to see how this goes. That's actually really, I could do that again for sure. Yeah, that's not bad. We might have to come up with a better name for that and make it on a more regular basis.
when you're not doing Alien specific.
When I'm not talking about Alien, yeah. All right, so listen, I'm really looking forward to talking about this with you. So we're going to take a quick drop, come back on the other side, and geek out a little bit about this show. Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, Moonshine Jesus, won't you shine a light?
Hello and welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We're entering our geeking out section where we will geek out for a little bit, and then a little later on we'll get into the theology and politics of Alien Earth. So thanks for hanging in while we let our geek flags fly. Alien Earth is a science fiction horror television series, and it is the first television series created for the Alien franchise. It is set 2 years before the 1979 film Alien, and the opening of the first episode sets the premise out. It says that there are 3 separate organizations, 3 separate corporations, rather, that are competing for the destiny of humanity. by trying to reach immortality. There are those who are cybernetically enhanced humans, cyborgs, artificially intelligent beings, synths, and synthetic beings downloaded with human consciousness, the hybrids. So, Mark, as I recall, I think maybe when we were talking about Alien Romulus, you were kind
Mhm.
of meh about the whole franchise. Is that an accurate statement?
Yes, I absolutely loved the first movie.
Hmm.
Kind of liked the second movie, Aliens.
Hmm.
And ever since then, I felt like they're trying to find trying to find their footing. They can't quite. They keep planning it in different places to see, what they can do to make it connect again. And it's just never quite. It's worked enough for me, but not enough that I get excited about the next one and the next one.
I would agree with that assessment too. You know, a lot of critics like Aliens better than Alien,
It's pretty
but
good, but it
but
wasn't
I'm
quite
with
as good as
you.
those.
I like the first one the best, and
Yeah.
I think that worked the best. I did like Aliens. The rest of them, especially when we start talking about the Alien versus Predator kind of stuff,
Oh, they
I
were
felt
really
like
which is what this show is leading to, I understand,
uh,
is that
y-
it's leading to another Aliens versus Predator kind of movie that's one of the things I believe this prequel is setting up and is going to lead to.
and that really felt kind of like a cash grab whenever that was
It
put
really
out.
did. It
I
was like,
mean,
why did we do this? These weren't even in a lot of our heads, they weren't even the same universe, really. They were like two different.
that's
Yeah,
right. It's like
it
two.
definitely felt like a cash
But
grab.
what they had in common was that they were both fledgling franchises that had lost their way, and they both needed an infusion
Right.
of cash. And
And they
so,
both
why
did
not put
have
them together?
Earth was a common denominator, but Earth was also a common denominator in other movies at that time that we didn't think were all related.
And alien stuff. I don't know. Okay, so as you mentioned, Mark, they've tried a variety of different
Yeah.
footholds. So this is different, even if it is maybe leaning towards predator type thing. How do you
Mhm.
think this worked as a foothold? Do you think that this is the thing that's going to stabilize this franchise?
I think it at least stands a chance. I really like the way that they reestablished it and reconnected it with the first movie. It felt a lot like the first movie. We get the uniforms that match the ones from the first movie. We get the pods that they sleep in that were like the
Mhm.
first one. We get even the table they sit around while they're eating
Yeah.
is the exact table. It's just like the one from it. It felt like we were getting back to it, and I really liked that. It felt like it reconnected. I also liked some of the world building that they did here. It got more interesting. They fleshed it out and gave us more to be thinking about and considering, while not abandoning the just great. And one of the things is just the scariness of the alien in the original movie. And they did
Yeah.
such a great job. Like we would have scenes where they were doing some world building or character building. And then we realize because something moves that the alien has been sitting in the background the whole time.
Right.
Like that little quick little movement. You're like, oh, okay. That felt like the original. And I like that. It felt exciting. It felt like the horror really was being focused on in a way that didn't feel like they were overselling everything that was there. I think.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that kind of, you know, uh, in a haunted house style kind of
Yeah,
thing, where there's some jump scares, because I mean, primarily that's what the original Alien
yeah.
was just
It,
jump scares on a ship.
there definitely weren't any complicated stories. There wasn't a lot of
No.
complicated world building. I liked the addition of that here, but only because they kept going back to the original formula that worked really well and gave us some of the original feeling of it too. So it felt familiar.
I think you're right. I think it added the story building, the world building, added enough interest so that it wasn't just like stuck on the
It's
ship.
like,
Because like, how can you have a series of that?
right.
That's I mean, 2 hours is enough of it.
Trapped on a ship with an alien. Yeah.
Keeps
It'd be
it
hard to do
interesting.
much
It
more than that.
provides enough. And so I think this provides some interest to help everything really feel like you want to be invested in the characters, and I think that that's what's necessary for a story to take off. And I'm with you. I really liked the retro pieces, the retro sets. I
Yeah.
think it did very much feel just like in 1979. It's as if the future were happening now and
Yeah.
or happening then, as if technology had continued in the 70s. And I think that that was kind of cool. It did tie that to the
Yeah, I
original.
really liked, even the keyboards look the same as they did in the
Yes.
set. We got the symbols over the doors like they did originally. Matter of fact, those have been used in other franchises and movies too, just because they were so smart and interesting and made it feel grounded. I don't know. I really like it. I'm with you 100%.
Yes, yes. So I thought that was fun. And this world building, though, Mark, one thing
Mm,
I'm curious about. You had mentioned before we started the podcast today that
yeah.
there was a lot of information, a lot of world building
Yeah.
all at once. And as I was talking just a minute ago about the different types of things that the companies were competing for, there's the
Right.
cyborg and the synth and the hybrid.
Yeah.
Is that something that really adds context and it helps everything to really feel fuller, or is
Yeah.
it too much?
I think that it does help. I'm not sure that they did it. I'm not sure I like how they did it. There was a whole lot of, rather than showing us, telling us. And they
Yeah.
told us a lot all at once. And they even had some of the characters narrate what's going on, and rather than showing us what was going on. And that can get old, particularly when you start. If you come in and out of it briefly during a show or a movie, I can buy into it a little bit. Sometimes it's just narratively what needs to happen. It felt like a whole lot. I had to go back and kind of rehash it a second time, the beginning
Yeah.
of the very first show, just to kind of get my head wrapped around, okay, we've got 3 different ways they're trying to get to immortality, and we've got 5 different corporations that now run the planet, and just trying to keep up with that and figure out. And 2 of the corporations that run the planet, we don't even hear what their name is or where they are or what they're doing, and they don't seem to be associated necessarily directly with any of the 3 ways that they're trying to achieve immortality. So I found that all a little confusing in how they presented it, but I do think it provides a lot of ground for storytelling. I just feel like maybe they could have given it to us a little at a time, and
Yeah.
instead of feeling like they needed to set up the whole world in the first 20 minutes of the show or 15 minutes of the show, set up just a couple of them and give it to us. Tell us about Neverland, and do those kind of things. Don't paint the whole picture and then start narrowing in on parts of it. Maybe just narrow in on the ones that you need for the first 2 episodes, and then slowly build it out from there. I don't know. Am I being overly critical?
No, I think that's accurate because I remember because it comes up on the screen as like a narrative, and I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, what? What was it? What was it again? And
Yeah, I had
because
to pause it. I had to pause it just so I was like, okay, wait a minute. Try to that one's this and this one's that, and okay, that's a new one. All right.
right, because all we've ever really had are synths before, right? We've had androids, and that's really it. And so all of this
Well, we've
other stuff
had
was new.
the first 2. You're going to have to help me. We have actually had the first 2.
That
The
cyborgs too.
cyborgs, yeah, we've had cyborg with, just in mechanically computer enhanced humans. We've had a couple of those, but the
And
cyborgs have really been the ones that we've been most focused on. Synths
or,
are the synths the new one?
no, the synths
No, the synths are the ones that
synths
we've
are
had
like
before.
the androids. Synths are
Yeah,
like the androids, and so
and we've
that's
had
one
those clearly. They played
we've had a
important.
lot of those.
Well,
Yeah.
and they've played central roles in some of the
Yes.
storylines. But yeah,
Well, see, this is the problem, Mark. Okay,
that is
because
the problem.
because we're like, well, wait,
Which
what?
one is
And
which?
which one have we had? And which one have
Yeah.
and hybrids are the new ones that
Hybrids are the new ones, and they're
yeah, and so
interesting.
they are interesting, and I think this is all great, but I think it's the exact problem that you just pointed out. Is that like we've watched all this stuff, and it's hard to keep
Yeah,
track of.
it
We've
is
talked about it on the show, and
on
it's
the
hard to
show
keep track of.
several times.
And so I think the fact that like we're taking a premise that has been pretty simple and
Yeah.
complicating it quite a bit, and I do
Oh, yeah.
think that it needs to be built out a little bit in order to be more complex.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you're right. If we'd been introduced to it a little bit slower, and I guess the point was that they wanted to be able to go back to that kind of scare house kind of thing to get them
Mhm,
back on the ship to see. And I do think that that part worked well, but
mhm.
I think that could have been done in a way where we're introduced to the hybrid and maybe we don't find out about all these other companies all at once and
Yeah.
everything that they're doing. And I think if they had done that, that probably would have helped us some. So.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm completely on board with you there.
So, one point online that people seem very excited about
Yeah,
this new alien was that Ice Age is now is canon
it's canon in it.
in the universe.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any more to it, Mark? What do you think? Do you think there's anything else that you would like to see become canon
Oh, what else?
in the
Hmm.
alien universe?
Well, I mean, we already have
We've got
Predator
Peter
in it.
Pan
We
and
got
we've
Peter
got
Pan,
Ice Age.
Ice
Yes.
Age, and Predator. All are canon
Yes, and Predator.
within.
That's
And
right.
so if I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I really don't care. Like
You're
it
not
is.
excited?
It's
You weren't excited about Ice Age being canon as existing in this
I
universe?
smiled, and I do think that there is something a little more subtle going on there
Yeah.
about the human capacity to really appreciate things from the past.
Yeah.
And I think they might even play with that even more because we do see it from the hybrids doing
Yeah.
this, which is the closest to finding humanity, maybe. I don't know,
Yeah.
possibly. And so I think that there is actually some real storytelling that's going on by allowing that to happen because we're talking about something that is hundreds of years old, or at least
Yeah.
almost 100 years old, that there's a nostalgia that's being
Yeah.
fed. And I kind of like that we've done that as we get the hybrids.
Yeah.
I think there's a real intent there. I like that. So I don't care what they bring in for that. I like they brought in baseball.
Yeah.
That kind of is this humanizing part that we've missed a little bit of. And I think there's a story to be told there that I suspect they're angling towards. And that's
Yeah.
why we got some of that.
Yeah.
Did you like it? Are there things you'd like to see in it? And it can't be Batman. And
Well, it's going to be Avengers because it's owned by Disney now,
It's
right?
by
So we're going
Disney.
to see
everything
Marvel
Disney
become,
goes to Avengers sooner or later.
what we're actually going to see is the Avengers, the new Avengers coming to take on Alien.
Alien.
Aliens. Yeah,
It's not going to be
Xenomorphs.
Alien versus Predator. It's going to be
It's going
Alien
to be
versus
versus
Avengers.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
that's right.
I don't know.
one other-
I might be in for that.
You might be in it. Yeah, we'll see. I've got one more question, Mark.
Yeah.
So they have to hibernate on these long missions, right? And I think they said this was like 65 years.
55. Yep.
55 years. So like, and they wake up and they're just like come and eat and do some socializing and stuff. And then they
Go.
narrate everything about who the largest corporations are and stuff.
Mhm.
Mark, how is it possible that in like 55 years that everything's the exact same as whenever they left? Do you have any clarity?
I don't
on
think
that?
that's necessarily the case because even in this one, we saw they wake up, they socialize, then they go back to their pods.
Yeah.
I'm beginning to wonder if in this version that every X number of years,
Yeah.
they wake up, they socialize, they do some physical things that they need to be doing to sustain their bodies or whatever, and that they can get some of the news and find out. I don't know if that's the case or not. But that in my head, that's what made it work.
Okay, I like that. Yes, they've checked and they're going over the changes that have happened. Okay, thanks. I like that. Okay,
that works for me anyway.
I'd love to ask more questions, but it's time to move on to the next segment.
Yes, indeed.
So why don't we take a break, take a drink, and come back and talk about theology and politics.
Welcome to our Theopolitico segment, where we'll look at some of the theological and political questions, issues that the show brings up. So in the very first episode, the main setting, I've already brought it up once, is this futuristic city-ish called Neverland. Obviously a nod to Peter Pan's world where no one grows up. And at the same time, the show's main character, Wendy, is literally a child who's been uploaded into an adult synthetic body.
Yes.
So you've got this whole story framed by the idea of, I'm going to call it a suspended childhood or refusing to grow up. So I started wondering, is this show using Neverland as more than just sort of a Easter egg? Do you think it could be actually holding kind of a mirror up to the modern world, saying that we as a society keep kind of dodging the hard work of growing into a moral society, a moral maturity? Do you think any of that's going on, or is that my mind knowing that I had to host this segment, trying to work too much into it?
No, I mean, I think certainly our society is not growing up in the way that we might hope. I mean, we're or the way that we might typically talk about. We're certainly not progressing. We're definitely regressing into what we would hope society would be. Yeah. I also kind of thought that this is kind of a metaphor for I mean, maybe even the target audience here, that that people like us who kind of have a bit of nostalgia about these kind of retro retro sci-fi shows as well, and kind of hang on to those, and they kind of ground us in some ways. And so I also saw it as kind of making a commentary on that, on even the kind of meta on the purpose of the franchise, is that it's also kind of an escape from reality, that even horror shows with aliens are less scary than our current state of affairs in the United States. And so that's some escapism there. But I think we'll have to wait and see where they go with this whole idea of the hybrids. Like what do they end up being the most human of all, or what, or is it a complete disaster, or what does it mean to be a hybrid? I don't think we can tell yet with 2 episodes. But yeah, maybe. What do you think?
I think it's far too. There's clearly a message they're trying to deliver here. Calling it Neverland, having Boy, which is the name of the the person who owns the company that made the hybrids, having him read from Peter Pan, having him show Peter Pan. Well, go ahead.
I'm just cracking up, Mark, about how hard it is to keep track of all these different groups. Like,
it's a little bit much.
The hybrids, we got Neverland. We've got the characters changing names once they get into the different bodies,
changing names to the characters from Peter Pan. I mean, Peter Pan is playing way too big of a role in this for them not to play it. If they don't play it out, then I'm going to be mad. Like it's going to be lost all over again. There's this grand setup that never pays off because they call him Boy,
Yeah.
He reads from Peter Pan. They show them Peter Pan.
Yeah.
There is some kind of at least commentary, I think, going about tech bros being children at heart
Uh-huh.
and really not having to deal with the consequences of all the things that they're doing. We
Yeah.
see it with him. I feel like there's a lot of setup going on. That
Elon Musk.
played. Oh, you okay there? Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I feel like that we're angling towards at least some payoff from that. It is interesting because then the creation is a reflection of them. Essentially, they are these adult children who are not having to deal with the consequences of their actions. And he creates in his own image, let's say, these children in adult bodies. There's definitely something going on there. I mean, there's if they don't pay that off, they need to fire every writer on the show.
They will. I think they'll make the connection, and I think they'll also make some significant commentary, because that also is the age that we're living in, that we also, I think, do want and need that from shows, that they kind of have an obligation, I think, right now, to make commentary. And especially, I think, as you're talking about tech bros and all that, we've seen people who just create for the sole sake of making money, and at the expense of the betterment of the world,
society
and
in general.
humanity. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
yes, I'm with you. I'd love to see that.
So let's continue down that road.
Yeah.
The argument can be made that this show is saying that unchecked greed and tech overreach are as monstrous as any alien. So are corporate elites the true villains in this and not the xenomorphs?
I think that's what we're going to see. I mean, the fact that we've got these three corporations, and there's commentary throughout here that says what the universe, or the future of the universe, or something like that, is going to be determined on who wins this battle, which corporation wins this battle. Right. And so, yeah, they're setting up the corporations to be at odds with each other, and whoever comes up with the best product is going to control the universe. Right. And so yeah, I mean, we've got these folks who are only interested in profit, that is their sole means for being, their sole reason for being. We see the boy character, what's his name, boy's
last name is Cavalier.
Boy Cavalier, right? We've got Boy Cavalier.
Boy, that's grid writing for you, right there.
I mean, I don't think it hit me quite as funny until you actually.
It's pretty much on the nose. At least they spelled it. At least they spelled it different. It's Kavalier.
Yeah, well, let's see.
Now we won't notice.
Fine. We won't notice. Yeah, Boy Cavalier. Boy Cavalier is not. Is not That's even.
Really got me tickled.
Boy Cavalier is not even interested in any ethics of hey, should we be putting the consciousness of children in androids? Well, who cares? Right. Whatever. We'll see how it goes. That this is exactly the way that most corporations operate. They're only concerned with corporate profit. They're not thinking about betterment of humanity at all, or even if what they're doing is ethical. And so that, whereas a xenomorph is as far as we know, an alien that is just going through and killing because of primal instincts. Right. And so is humanity then worse than those who than aliens or animals that have operated on primal instincks? I think that's a question. And yeah, I think corporations certainly are. What do you think?
I actually think that they're not trying to say one's worse than the other. They're trying to say they're the same damn thing. That they both are interested in feeding themselves to the point being engorged and not giving a crap about the outfall of the carnage that happens. I think that they're literally just saying, let's put these two stand across from each other so you can see they're the same kind of evil. I kind of feel like that's a big part of what's being set up here. And I think part of that, I mean, I think that there's this tip of the hat that they give us in this sort of eat the rich moment that happens. You know, I mean, it's about as on the nose as you're going to get, that these rich folks are so indifferent to everything else that's happening in the world that
they may as well have just said, let them eat cake, right?
Right, exactly.
They're dressed as
for me, that's the scene that kind of is their tip of the hat to, yeah, we're trying to tell you they're equally evil. That it felt like that was their telegraphing that message to us. Yeah. Okay, so we could go on and on. There's other questions that I'm interested in, like what defines a soul, since these kids are being uploaded. But I'm going to leave that out there as a teaser because we only have 30 seconds left in this segment.
You know what?
If you haven't watched the show,
what defines a soul is one of my questions too. Like that was one of the things that I wrote down as I was watching this. Yeah,
I think this definitely brings it up. So if you are listening and haven't seen the show, I think that's a big enough teaser to maybe make you interested in going to see what's going on in this. It's not just a horror film. The question of what defines a soul and what makes a person becomes really important. So anyway, I hope that's enough teaser to get you to watch this. Even if you didn't like some of the follow-up movies, I think you might find that they do something new and interesting in this and start bringing up questions. It is jump scares. There are little gross out scenes. It's also kind of interesting, the questions that they seem to be at least setting up for investigation here. So I hope you go watch it. Listen, we're going to have to take a quick break because we need to come back on the other side. Our favorite segment is always the Make Me Look Stupid segment. So we're going to have, like Caleb says, a break and a drink, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Welcome back to the Moonshine Jesus Show. We're entering our favorite segment, the Make Me Look Stupid segment, where we ask questions to try and make our co-hosts look stupid. And we do that in a variety of ways. We might try to stump them. We might try to make them make a prediction to make them look stupid in the future, or just something we're generally curious about. In this case, Mark, since we're only 2 episodes in, I want to see what you think is going to happen in the future of this season. And in good fashion, I'm going to ask you this question without having given it any thought. My answer.
That you also have to answer that question.
Yeah, I always forget this, but I'm committed. I've already started the question, so I'm going to go with it here. I want to know, do you think that by the end of this season, do you think one of these 3 companies will be showing dominance? And if so, which one do you think it will be? And what does that mean for the future if there's a season 2?
If there is any consistency here, the company that makes you're going to have to help me with the names again.
Hybrids.
All right, not the hybrids, the synths. Not the augmented, not the human augments.
Those are the cyborgs. The synths.
The cyborgs.
Yes. Yeah, the android.
Wait a minute, you're confusing me again. Which ones? Which ones are data?
The data is the synths.
Okay, the synth. Yes. I think if there's any consistency here,
I'm so glad that you used a Star Trek reference.
Had to
make sense of this franchise to get us to where we're going.
Got to use language that we're both going to understand because this is so confusing.
Thank you. I'm glad we're so nerdy that we can do this. Okay.
I knew that would immediately focus us both in. if this universe makes any sense, it has to be ultimately, who knows, maybe at the end of this one it's the maybe it's Boy, but
Which one?
ultimately it's Boy, whatever his name is.
Oh, this
Boy
guy, the
Cavalier,
hybrids.
the hybrid. Maybe
Yeah.
it's them. Maybe that at the end of this episode. But within the next couple of years, the other has to win out because that's the dominant one in the movies going forward. We have some, but they are the dominant, most noticeable one. So it would have to be them, I believe. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense, which is surprising because I would think that the hybrids, based on what we've seen so far, would win out. And so maybe they're going to set it up in some way that they temporarily win out, or they find that there's a major flaw. Maybe they can't ever actually mature in those bodies because of how they've done it, and ultimately continue to make childish decisions that put everything at risk. So they can't. I don't know. It's going to have to be something. I mean, it has to be the other, right?
I'm going to go with hybrids. I think hybrids are going to win out by the end of the season. And
so how do they justify the movies going forward when it's the cyborgs or the whatevers?
The Datas.
The Datas.
I think it's in part because these missions are so long that they've been out for they've been out.
They were already out there.
So they were already out. And I think that it's not necessarily going to be obvious who the hybrids are, because just interacting with them, they act like people. They even, the main character, and I can't keep track of her name. Oh, Wendy, because I was going to say there's so many different names and things. Wendy, the main character, she already said
Wendy's the easiest one.
But her name before that was Marcy.
Correct.
Wendy.
Yep.
Wendy. Oh my God. I think we've really identified a problem with this series. Okay. Wendy has already said, I'm a human. So I think it's not going to be obvious. Maybe there are more hybrids out there than we know from the later movies. And
that could be, maybe they're going to, like, what do you call it? Retrocon some characters and say, oh, they were actually hybrids. We just that was never revealed to us.
Yeah. Like Sigourney Weaver, the whole time.
That's right. That she was that feels a little cheap, but I don't know that I'd be real upset about it.
Or surprised. I mean, would you be surprised if they're like, actually, you know what?
You're talking about the franchise that threw in Predator. So nope, not going to be surprised.
Let's bring her back, and she'll be like some Anyway. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Too funny. Yeah. Okay, so here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
How did a corporation that is capable of capturing and containing dangerous specimens of aliens let a full ship crash into a populated city without safeguards? What? Am I missing something?
Well, Mark, I think one thing that'll be interesting to see is how involved the synth was in actually crashing the ship. So one thing that we have seen in pretty much every iteration, even the prequels with David, which is the Michael Fassbender character, his synth, that he ultimately was not interested in the well-being of the people. He ultimately was not in what was best for the corporation. He was just interested in his own agenda. And we saw that similar thing in the very first Alien. And so I think even though the synth is giving reports back to the corporation, I think that it'll be interesting to see if he purposefully crashed the ship, because it wasn't real clear from that those opening scenes whether or not it was done intentionally or not. So I would venture a guess that the synth played a significant role in overriding any safety protocols so that the ship could crash. My take. What do you think?
I'm going to yes and you. I do think that he overrode the safety protocols, but I think he was directed by the corporation he was working for in order to create havoc for the other company who they were trying to compete with, and they felt like, partly because of some of the things that happen, it might be a way to get inside of their world and their space and their buildings and discover some things. So I think it was corporate espionage at its highest heights, that it was very intentional and that he did crash it directly into the competitor's building.
You don't think they're afraid of losing the alien? The aliens?
I think that they thought that they were going to be able to have them more contained, and to the point that no one would know what was really on the ship. They could get in, they could contain it, and then and so I think that I really do think that there is some deliberate intentionality about it crash. I mean, it's when you look at the chances that it crashes directly into the main building of your competitor, it's next to none. So it has to be intent. There's no way that. Whoa! What a coincidence! No, that was directed for sure. And I don't know why the whatever he's not the synth would have wanted to crash into the competitors. He wouldn't have. I don't think it wouldn't have mattered where it was. So I think that it's directed by the other company. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to find out. And we made a number of predictions today. So
we'll have to come back.
Well, we're gonna have to come back and see how we did. So
that's good. That's good, because I really am. I wasn't sure after these 2 episodes that I was going to want to continue to watch the show.
Yeah,
I very much do.
Yeah. It was entertaining, right? And
it was well done. It really was.
And I don't really necessarily know what's going to happen, but I'm invested enough to find out, and I enjoyed it. I thought there was interesting storytelling. So let's see. We'll have to come back and see how we did. But I think all in all, if you all are looking for something to watch, I think this is one of the best in the entire franchise. It was entertaining to watch, and certainly better than a lot of the movies that we've gotten.
I definitely agree with that.
Particularly after the first 2. Okay, so Mark, next week is going to be a special week because we're gonna actually do the show twice in one week.
Isn't that fun? And once in person.
Once in person, and I cannot wait for that, because we were not gonna have to worry about internet stuff. We're gonna be able to drink together, and we're gonna be able to drink with some folks who are listening out there who are also going to be at Wild Goose, and that's going to be a lot of fun.
We will have our signature Moonshine Jesus mugs. Or
not
jugs.
This particular
there we
model,
go, just like that.
That one.
We will have those with a pre-mixed drink for those in attendance. If you're in the first, I don't remember now, 15 or 20 people, you'll have those. If not, we also will have other adult beverages with Moonshine Jesus Huggies. So make sure that you show up at the Goose Cast tent on Friday at 5 o'clock. We are going to have a great time talking about Superman. We've talked about it once already, but even in that show, we mentioned there's so much more here to unpack. So we're going to do that at the Wild Goose. We're going to unpack even more of it.
And, you know, as one of the listeners right now has just said, Terrence Fletcher has just said, you know, it's a nerd alert. And I mean, we're gonna be real nerds there. We're gonna geek out real hard.
Count on it.
Fanboy on Superman. So that's gonna be fun. And then, since we're talking about Superman at Wild Goose, there's another show that lines up with that. And Mark, you had a suggestion about this.
Yeah. So in the movie Superman, spoiler alert again, we actually have a kind of cameo from Peacemaker. Now, James Gunn, who makes Superman and Peacemaker, says that Peacemaker may be his favorite thing he's ever made. Season 2 drops this week, and it, from what I understand, makes a reference back to the Superman movie. So he's both in the movie and makes a reference back to the movie. So I think this would be a fun one to talk about and have kind of in our pocket as we move into a few days later doing a live show together talking about Superman. What do you think?
I think that'll be a lot of fun, and you can't go wrong with James Gunn and the stuff that he's doing right now. I think it ought to be a lot of fun.
And I want to say, Terrence Fletcher made sure that we understood that Nerd Alert was a compliment. One, I appreciate you delineating that, but just know we definitely took it as a compliment.
We definitely did. Yes, I've never heard that and thought it was a diss or whatever. I thought, yeah, this is that's just who we are, just descriptive.
100%.
We hope that we'll see you twice next week. We hope that you'll catch us online here, and we hope that you'll catch us if you're going to be in Harmony Springs, North Carolina, that you will be at the Wild Goose Festival, that you will stop by and see us on Friday at the Goosecast stage at 5 p.m. So a week from this Friday. Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you all tuning in every week to let us be nerds so that we can come and talk about all these gritty details of these sci-fi, fantasy, superhero flicks, and talk about how that relates to theology and to politics. So, can't wait to see you next week on the Moonshine Jesus Show.